Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. And this video is about organizing your Express code. Okay, and just showing you some tips and tricks to kind of break it up in a kind of nicer way. Um, so first off, let's just kind of do the standard setup for an Express project. So let's just do it. I'm going to open up a terminal, create a new npm project, npm init-y, install all the usual suspects. So npm install fcourse express, cores for cores headers. Okay, npm install cores for cores headers. Morgan for logging. Mongoose for connecting to a database, specifically a Mongo database. Npm install. Let's see here. Npm install .env for .env files. I think that's a pretty good start. Okay, so let's just do everything in one file so you can see what it would look like, and then we'll simplify it. Okay, so we're just gonna make one big server.js, and essentially what I would do if I were to kind of set this all up in one folder is first I would bring in express const equals express. Actually, first I would probably call .env const. Actually, I wouldn't even bother saving that in a variable. I would just do require .env .config. That'll pull all the details from the .env file, which there isn't none currently. Express would equal require express. Const cores would equal require cores. Const Morgan equals require Morgan. Const mongoose equals require mongoose. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so that'd be sort of like the start. I import all my libraries. Let me just double check. Is that everything I just installed? I think it is. Yep. Okay, then what I want to do is like connect to my database. Okay, and essentially that would basically what I would do is I would just do connect or mongoose.connect, and I would put in the URL MongoDB localhost 27017 slash organizing express. Okay, so there's my DB because I have a local Mongo running server. Okay, and then I'll pass in my configuration options, which would be use new URL parser, true, use unified topology, true. Okay, let me see what I got so far. Okay, so that would connect me to the database. Then I'd set up my database events. So I would be like mongoose.connection. And then I'll just do it this way. Dot on. Open. Empty function for now. And then we just copy that 2 more times. Actually, let me just do console log. Connection is open. Or Mongo connection is open. So that way it's a clear message. Mongo connection is open. So that way I get a little message in my terminal when the connection opens. And then I want one when the connection is closed. So close is closed. And then I want one when there's an error. So I'm going to say error. Now I'm going to make this a bit fancier as far as what the console will say. So what I am going to do is this. I'm going to do multiple console logs in this function. So this way, if there is an error, it's like very clearly marked. So what I like to do is I just like to do error and then just do like something like that. So this way, if there is an error, the error is console log in between these lines, so it's just easy to see it in my terminal. Okay, and it just makes that message real clear that there's a problem. Okay, and what that problem is. Okay, now then what I would do is we would create schema and model. Okay, and then I would create schema and model. So first I'd create the schema. So I would say const dog schema equals new schema. And that would say new schema and dog schema. So that would basically be, we'll say name, which is a string, and age, which is a number. Keep it simple. Okay, so that's that. Then we would say const dog, we create our model, equals model, and the name of the model is dog, and the schema is the dog schema. There we go. So we have our model. So then we technically would have everything we need now to start continuing. Our database stuff is all set up. Next, I would set up my middleware. Set up middleware. So first I would set up const, well, this is all going to be like app. Did I make the app object yet? No, I haven't made the app object yet, so that should do that first. Express app object. Const app equals express. And then we set up the middleware, app.use, cores, for cores headers, app.use, express.json, to parse JSON bodies, app.use, express.url encoded. Okay, in order to parse URL encoded bodies, extended equals true. Okay, then it would be app.use express.static to serve a folder called public statically. App.use Morgan for logging, which I should probably put higher up so that way it logs every request. So Morgan, and we'll just say tiny template. Because again, everything gets run in the order that it's put in. So generally, first thing I want to do is make sure I set my cores header so no requests get denied. Log, so that way I have details about the request. Then I'm going to want to parse the body before anything else. And then I'm going to check to see, hey, is there something I can statically serve from this request? Anything else that I would like to do? That's good for now. We're going to add some stuff as we fancy it up. And then I'd have my routes. Okay. And I'm just going to do I'm just going to do the index and create route. I'll keep it simple. So routes. Okay, so first we just have our home route, app.get. That's just like our, basic test route. Rec res / and then this would just be like res.send. hello world, just to make sure the server's working. And then we'll have our index route that gets us all the dogs / dogs. Rec res. Oop, that's gonna be a function. Rec res. Okay, app.get / dogs, and that here we're just going to basically return all the dogs. So I'll actually make this an async function, so this way I can do it the most simplest way possible. So res.json await dog.find, and then just find all the dogs. Okay, then we'll do app.post / dogs. And then here, again, async, rec res. I'm not even doing error handling, just straight up res.json, await, dog.create, rec.body. Okay, there we go. So we got our index and create routes. And then after that, I would turn on the listener. Okay, so server listener. And again, we always generally want to pull it from environmental variables. So first we'll create this port variable, which will either be the port defined in our environmental variables in our .env file, or we'll make it 4000. Okay, and then we can get the port this to listen, app.listen port. Okay, and yeah, this is just this, and I just want a console.log, listening on port, or whatever the port is. So that way if it's different. Okay, and just to make sure that things are working, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a .env file. I'm going to define the port variable in here. I'm going to make it something other than 4000, so that way it confirms that it is working, but there should be no spaces in here. It should be just like that. It's just the variable name equals the value. And now let's try it out. Node server.js. Oh, I got an error. Let's take a look. Model is not defined. Oh, that's right. It should be mongoose.model because I didn't destructure it. So let's go back to where that is. That's right here. Mongoose.model. Okay, let's try that again. And okay, cool. Our server is working. Okay, and it's working on port 5000, so it is reading the .env. And let me just do a quick test run. So I'm waiting for Insomnia to open up because I can open up that a little bit faster than Postman, even though I've used Postman a lot more. Okay, so first I'll do a post request to localhost 5000 / dogs. Okay, and let me just put in a request body here. So this dog's name will be Sparky. And its age will be 5. Okay, so there's our dog. So let's hit send. So we're sending a post request to localhost, because that localhost always means our computer, and that's where our server is running. And we have it set on port 5000. And the endpoint for our create request is that. So we hit send. And good. I get a successful return back. Cool. Okay. So I did it. I created a API. Okay, like that was it. Okay. So I'm going to make a copy of this file, so that way if you go look at my videos repo, you'll see this full one file version. So I'm going to paste that in here. Okay, rename, call it one file server.js. Okay, so that's there for reference. But another question is, like, how can we break this up so that way this is not so much stuff going on in one file? Okay, let's break it up piece by piece. Okay, first thing you want to do is you want to follow the normal sort of models, views, controllers architecture. So we're going to make some folders, make dir, and we want to make dir a public folder because we set up express.static middleware. That's just for like serving like images, static HTML files, whatnot. If you decide you want to use that, it's there. But we want to have that folder there in case we do want to use it. Make dir public. We also want to make models, views. Well, we don't really need views. Controllers, because we're making an API, so theoretically this would be like a React, Vue, Svelte, Angular application on the front end that acts as our views, consuming our API. Okay. So, and I'll make one more folder, middleware, because we're going to extra organize it. So basically, what goes inside the models folder will be all our database stuff. So generally, first we're going to create a db.js. This is going to be where we put our database connection in. So I'm going to go back to my server.js. I'm going to copy the import of Mongoose in there. I want to copy the database events. Just that. I don't want to copy the schema and all that stuff. You'll see why. Okay, so I'm going to copy all that out. Oops. Oh no. Hit Control C by accident. Control Z. Cut it again. Okay. There we go. And then the only thing I also want to do is that generally you want to pull in your database via a environmental variable. You don't want this URL hard-coded because, again, when you deploy it, you're probably not going to be using your local Mongo server. You'll be using something like mongodb.com, and you don't have to be having to edit your code just for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable. A standard name for these variables is called database URL. So I'm going to say database URL, and I'm just going to copy that URL right over. So I'm just going to cut the URL out, slice. Okay, put that in my database URL variable. So that's there. And I'm going to, that file I just want to close. Then here, what we're going to do is instead just use the environmental variable process.env dot database URL. But I got to make sure I load my .env file, so I need to make sure I have my .env import here. Require .env .config. Okay, that should be good. And then all I really want to do is export this connected object. So module.exports equals mongoose. Because the idea is that when you first import mongoose here, this mongoose object is not connected. So now we've gone through this code, we connected it to a database, and so we're exporting the already connected object so we can use it wherever we need a database connection. And usually that's going to be in our models. So basically I create a new file for each model that I'm going to create. So we'll just say dog.js. Okay, dog.js. Okay, and then there I'm going to copy my model stuff. So I'll go back to my server, and I'm going to cut out this whole thing about creating the dog. Cut that out. Okay, bring that over to dog.js. Okay, cool. But I need to import mongoose, but I don't want to import normal mongoose. I want to import the one from our db.js that's exported because that one's already connected to the database. So I don't have to reconnect. So const mongoose equals require ./db. That's fine. And then that's it. Then all I want to do is export dog. Module.exports dog. So that way I can use that somewhere else. Okay, so that's cool. So models is done. So far our server.js is getting a lot simpler. Okay. Next, we're going to do the middleware. Okay, so I'm going to head over the middleware. This is not something that's like, I would say, typically done. This is just a practice I've started doing recently just because I like kind of having folders where something is clearly done. So I'm going to create a new file called global middleware.js. Okay, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function. So module.exports. We don't even need to bother giving the function a name. And this function will take our app object. So we'll pass it our app object, and we're just going to register all our middleware here. Okay, so I don't have to import anything. Well, I will have to import some stuff in a second, but basically I'll just cut this all up in here. Cut that right out. Okay. This is, in a sense, theoretically, this is going to be my global middleware. So we're just going to give some extra lines here. Space this out a little bit. Okay, set up middleware. Now, what I do need to do is I need to import all that middleware in particular. So I need to go back to server. I am going to copy. I don't need .env at the moment, but I do need Express because I am using some Express middleware. So I'll copy that in like that. Cool. And that's that. And the beauty of this is that now I'm just going to be able to use this function. And if I need to add middleware, I just add it here, which is going to clean up this file. So now what I do in here, in my server, I can replace these two with const global middleware equals, and then I would just do require dot slash middleware slash global middleware. So now all I'd have to do is just do this global middleware, and I just pass in my app object, and that's just going to register all my middleware, because that app object gets passed into here, and then I just do that whole app. Yeah, and I just do the app.use there, and all that stuff just kind of occurs there, and we're all good. So see that server.js just got a lot easier. Okay, or a lot simpler. Okay, so next is going to be our routes. Okay, so generally the way I'm going to want to organize this is I like to have a home router, like or like, let's say we'll call it a root router. Okay, which is just basically where everything kind of kicks in. So we'll go to controllers. That's where we're going to put all our routers. So new file, we'll call it root.js. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to say const router, because we're pulling out router from Express, equals require Express. That pulls out the router function. And then we're going to say const router equals router. And then we want to export that router. That's basically the setup for all router files. Module.exports router. But really I just want one root router. Okay. And essentially what this is just going to, here's where we're going to move our main route, our home route. So we go back to our server.js. I'll pull this route out of there. Control X. So put that into that root file. Except instead of app, we're now using this router. Okay, so that file's done for the most part. Okay, so now if I go back to server.js, I'm going to import the root router. Const root router equals require dot slash controllers. There we go. Controllers slash root. Okay. Let me think about that. Do I even want to do that there? Yeah, we'll do it here. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll do app.use. So for any route, pretty much, we will use the root router. That's where they're all going to go. And then I want to make another router just for all my dog URLs. So we'll make a dog router. So new file in my controllers, dog.js. So this way, like all my dog routes are in its own router, all my the root routes in its own router. We keep it all simple. So in this case, I'll set up another router. So I'll just copy and paste this code because it's exactly the same. Okay, the only difference is that now here in the root router, I want to import the dog router. Equals require. And the reason I do want to do this is because I really just don't want to have to touch that server.js if I don't have to. I want to set that up in a way where everything kind of is in its own folder, and I just work in that folder when I'm working on that thing. So this way my team, there's plenty of files, very little chance that we're going to collide working on the same file because we've got everything broken up fairly methodically. Okay, so I'm going to require /. So the root router is where I'm going to handle all my routing. So in that case, in here, I'll import any additional routers. I'll import in here, and I'll just register it here as middleware for that router, because you can register middleware specifically with that router. So I would just do router.use, and if the URL starts with /dogs, then send it to the dog router. Okay, now that's set. And now I can go back to server.js, cut out these two routes, Control X, and then I go over the dogs, copy these two routes, but again, these two apps need to be replaced with router. And these, I don't need to say /dogs anymore, because the router part already took care of it. So now when it gets to root, if the URL says /dogs, this takes care of it. So in this case, I don't need to specify that again in this router. If I did, it would be like /dogs, which would be not what I wanted. But now all my routing logic is in this controllers folder. This root router is kind of taking care of like directing it to all other routers. So this way my server.js, okay, like now we're getting pretty clean. Yeah, I think at this point we're kind of like all set. Okay, so literally now it's pretty clean what's going on here. We create our server, we register our middleware, we connect our router, and then we set up the server to listen. Okay, let's double check that I have that all set up well so far. Actually, there's still one piece missing. The problem is this dog model doesn't exist here. I have two choices. I could import the dog model here, which is probably the path of least resistance, but I'm going to take it one step further. I want to make sure that all my models are accessible everywhere. So I'm going to head back into my middleware, and I'm going to create a custom piece of middleware, so app.use, okay, and I'm going to just basically create my own function, so that's rec resnex. And all we're going to do is create a property in the request object called context. Okay, and in this object, we can store any information that we want to store. So I'm going to create a property called models. And in models, we will store dog, but I'll have to import the dog in here. So const dog equals require / models / dog. Okay, so that'll bring in the dog model, which is again using the connected version of Mongoose, so I'll have that database connection available to me. And by putting it in this rec.context property, because I'm using this middleware to create this object that's going to have all this data in it, I can now, all my routes will can just find that model accessible to it through the rec.context object. So I would just hit save there so that I can just clean it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, and again, this is like set up global data via rec.context. So this way I can just deliver any future models, any other kind of data I want to make available to all my routes in one place. I'll just deliver it through my middleware. So now I can go back to my dog router, and now this would just be like rec.context.models.dog. Okay, although that can be like, it's like that's a lot more writing I just wrote. So what could I do to fix that? Well, I could just leave it that way. I mean, that's not too big a deal. Or I could destructure it out of there. If I was going to use it more than once per route, I'd probably do that. But yeah, there we go. So in that case, I don't necessarily have to worry about importing dog in here anymore or anywhere. So if later on I add a cat model, an owner model, they're just going to all be tucked away in this models object, because I'm just going to keep going to my middleware and just adding it to this context object. And this context object will just kind of store whatever I need. Okay, so fun times. Cool. Now that's all fun and good. Let's see here. Yeah, let's just test this out. So now if I do node server.js, everything should be working. There might be one or two pieces I need to fix up. Yep, there's always something. Okay, module that exports is not a function. Where did I accidentally use it as a function? So accordingly, it's in dog. Oh, there we go. That's not right. So that means I did it in both of these. Module that exports equals router. Okay, so let's fix that. Okay, so let's try that again. Oh, and the servers weren't working. So let's check. Go back to Insomnia. Let's do localhost 5000. Let me just do another post. Okay, we'll call it Sparky2. And oh, I know why. I never connected to the database. Why? Because wait, I should have actually. .env. I have database URL there. Good. Now let's go to DB. I am getting the process and variables there. That should be, the connection is open. So that's all fine and good. Oh wait, let's take a look at that post request here. Router.post res.json. Oh wait, rec.models.dog.create rec.body. Okay, rec.body. Let's see. Let's go to make a get request and to localhost. Does that work? It doesn't like it. ¿Por qué? And see, I'm getting the logs. It is receiving the request. So let me think about this for a second. So it goes to root router. And then from the root router, it gets routed to /dogs. Let's just see if our routes are even being hit in the first place. That's always the first thing I want to check. Console.log. Okay. Route. Get route. Just so that I can see that, like, hey, did it get to the, so, like, is it the function? I just want to, like, narrow it down. Post. Okay, and then let's go back to Insomnia. Let's hit send. Well, I need to restart the server. Okay, so now let's go back to Insomnia. Hit send again. It's taken forever. And see here, I never got that console log. So that means it didn't actually get to this router. Okay. Which is interesting. Now, why is that? Get to /dogs, and when you get to this, let's go back to our root router. /dogs, go to dog router, which comes from this route right here. Module that exports router. Now, okay, so then my next question is it even detecting that particular file? Like, did I import it correctly? So let's put a console log in here. Console.log dog router. So I should see this log right away, assuming that file got loaded up correctly. It did. Okay. So that's all fine. Okay. So that's fine. Okay. Dog router. But again, we're not getting this console log when I hit the route. So if I go to /dogs, I get this. Let me go look at root dog router. I exported the router and the routers from Express. Now let's try this. Let's go to /. Is hello world coming up? So let's cancel this request. Okay, not even that's coming up. Okay, so we have to go a step back. Now let's go back to server.js. app.use root router require controllers root. Okay, so let's double check. Am I actually importing a router? Router equals router. Require dog. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's all set up fine and good. .use root router. Let's just console log root router in this file. So let's stop this. Yeah, that looks like a router. So that looks like that's getting what I think it should be getting. Oh, I just realized what it was. Okay, back in my middleware, I did the custom middleware. What I forgot to do is I always do this when I do custom middleware. I forgot the next function. In the middleware, you have to sit there and say next, so that way it moves on to the next thing. Okay, so let me call this out. Next is not defined. Yes, it is, but I put it in the wrong line. So cut needs to be right here. Okay. There we go. Now let's try it out. Now we should be good. Let's do it. Hello world. Good. When I go /dogs, do I get Sparky? Yes. Now if I make a post request, can we add Sparky too? Yes. Yes. Oh wait, no, not /dog. I want to make a get request to /dogs. And we have 2 Sparkies. Yay! Okay, it works. Okay, but the beauty of this, again, now is like all my code's a bit more organized. This can seem like a little overkill. Like if you're just doing like a server by yourself, doing the whole one file thing might be fine. But when you're working as a team on team projects, kind of having it all broken up into a lot of different files makes a lot of little files that are just like a little bit easier to read. Like I can see like this file does one thing, it connects to the database. This file does one thing, it creates the dog model. Okay, this file does one thing, it registers all the middleware. This file does one thing, it's a root router. Like, you know, you have little pieces that can be easier to follow, and as your app grows, you're not having this one file that's getting like massively huge and hard to like reason about. Okay, but again, if you're just creating like a small proxy server or something like that, probably just like a basic thing is fine. But yeah, just wanted to show you guys that. You guys have a great day. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.